Styling is a huge part of the user experience for your apps. You've got a new design and you're going to build your new awesome app in React. But how do you go about implementing that design? It would be fair to say that React is pretty popular. So it's no surprise that there are multiple options when it comes to styling React apps. And in this video, we will be learning about the styling in React using CSS Classes. So let's get started. Hello and welcome. My name is Aditi from Data is Good. React components are building blocks of our application's UI. Choosing the right method for styling components isn't an absolute truth. It's a relative choice that should serve your use case, personal preferences, and above all, architectural goals of the way you work. We want to make sure that the application looks good, and styling is an important part of building components, and there are different techniques for setting styles dynamically and for styling components such that other components are not affected by a specific component style. When it comes to styling React applications or React components, we have a broad variety of options. We can use inline style, which is kind of the default approach. We can use normal CSS, and we can use styled components and much more. In this video, we'll look at some of the popular options and show how to use them and why we want to use them. In the end of this video, we'll have no problem in picking up the right styling solutions for our next projects. So before we begin, just make sure that you guys have subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all the latest videos coming from Data is Good YouTube channel. Now, time to get started. Here is the agenda for styling React with CSS classes. We'll first begin with complexity about React styling. Then, inline styling with an example. After that, regular CSS styling with an example. Then, CSS modules. At last, styled components. We will also have a couple of assignments for you so that you can also practice how to style your component on your own. So guys, our goal for this course is to choose which styling should be used. After finishing this video, you will gain enough confidence to choose which styling solution to start your next project. What's complex about React styling? So what's the thing about React styling? Why is it special? When getting started with React, you often learn about one styling option first, inline styles. Of course, you can just add normal CSS files to your React projects and assign styles to your components with the help of those. But besides the fact that you sometimes need to change styles dynamically, you often also want to scope styles to a certain component. After all, you do work with components to encapsulate logic. Why not do same with styles then? Normal CSS is a problem in both cases because it can neither be changed dynamically nor can you scope it to a component. It is always global. In this video, we dive into a couple of styling solutions that specifically help with the scoping part because dynamically changing styles come down to a dynamically adding or removing class names to elements. Something which then actually is fairly easy to achieve with vanilla CSS too. Now, inline style. This is the styling option you learn about first when diving into React. Inline styles. Let's understand with an example. Create a file called inline.js. Within the file, we are going to use RFCE to create a functional component. Export default inline. In React, inline styles are not specified as strings. Instead, they are specified as objects, whose key is camel case version of the styling, and a value is usually a string. For example, we can create an object called heading, and key is CSS property. As noticed, it has to be camel cased, and value is specified as string. If we want to specify additional CSS properties, simply add a comma and list the property. Export default inline. Now export the inline in app.js. Output Dhoni. Therefore, inline styles also share a couple of the disadvantages. We work against the cascading nature of CSS. Inline styles have highest specificity. All your style code sits right next to your markup or component code. Inline styles also have an advantage though. We ensure that the styling is only applied inside of that component. So inline styles are not horrible, and ultimately it comes down to personal preference, whether you want to use them or not. But the more style code you write, the harder it can become to reuse style code and separate JS logic from the styling code. Working together with global styles can also be tricky, since inline styles always take highest priority in CSS. Regular CSS style sheets. Create a file called stylesheet.js. Within the file, we are going to use RFCE to create a functional component. To specify CSS for the component, we specify mystyle.css. Within a file, we are going to create a class. We want to use mystyle.css in our component, and we need to import it. Output Dhoni. We can also conditionally apply a class based on props or state of a component. For example, let's pass props as primary and set it to false. Now we can use props in the component. Output Dhoni, text appear in black. Go to app component and pass the props primary as true. Output Dhoni. So basically what we are doing is reading the value of primary prop. If it is true, setting a value of primary. If it is false, we set it to null string. And that class name variable is assigned to class name value. If we want to specify multiple classes, simplest option is to use template literals. In CSS file, we are going to create a new class file. In the component, we change the value of class name attribute to template literals using black ticks. There's a file naming conversion to be used for CSS module with create React app. The file name must be suffix.module.css. For example, let us create two style sheets in source folder. Within src folder, appstyles.css, appstyles.module.css. In appstyles.css, we are going to add class. In module style sheet, we are going to add class. In add component, import both the files. There's a difference how we import module style sheet. Output error. Success. Advantage of using CSS module. Classes are locally scoped by default. This CSS applies to every child component. Example, we can apply in inline component. Styled components. We might be fine with not being able to reuse your code. Not using the cascading nature of CSS might also be okay. Maybe you didn't plan on having global styles, that should affect component style anyways. On a button, you probably want to provide a hover style. That's where styled components, a third-party library, enters the stage. You can add it to your project with one simple command: npm install save styled components. Now you're ready to use this package. But what does it actually do? Styled components give you a way of writing HTML elements in a way that allows you to attach more powerful CSS to it. Here's an example. This certainly looks strange at first. This styled.button double backtick syntax is not something you see often. It's a so-called tagged template, an official JavaScript feature. In the end, JavaScript will call styled.button as a method and pass your template string plus any interpolations you might have in there to that method. And the styled.button method is of course coming from the styled components package. Internally, the method then returns a React component that wraps itself around the button element and assigns the provided style to it. This, however, does not happen with the help of inline styles. The advantage of this is that you can write real CSS code whilst scoping it to a specific element. That is, it's not affecting all buttons on the page in this example. Now, number 8. Which one is best? With all these approaches covered, which one should you go with? Of course, it comes down to the scale of your project. Are you working on it on your own or in a team? And of course, it depends on your personal preference also. My clear winner is the CSS Modules approach. But that of course does not mean that it has to be your favorite as well. I simply like separating CSS from JavaScript code. Some people really love styled components. And of course, being able to define it all in one place can have some merits. It can also make conditional styling or changing styles a bit easier. Though you can always dump in some inline styles if you have some specific style that needs to change based on some condition. In my opinion, inline styles should mostly be avoided. You have certain restrictions there and you disable the cascading nature of CSS. So assignment for everyone is, consider the following component. What is the default color of the star? So I hope you guys are clear with the styling React with CSS classes. If you guys have any doubts, then please do let us know in the comment section. And our Data's Good team is always ready to help you. With this, we've reached the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed learning about the styling React with CSS classes. And you also got to learn something new. In case you have any suggestions for us, then please let us know about that in the comment section. And we'll try our best to resolve it for you and revert back to you. Thank you so much for joining us.